Captain Ileana Reyes stared at the display, the strange patterns of light pulsing across her screen like nothing she'd ever encountered in her 15 years of deep space communications. "Run the decryption sequence again. Sentinel," she ordered the station's eye. The blue holographic interface flickered beside her workstation. "Captain, this is the 7th iteration. The pattern remains consistent." The AI's voice was measured, almost cautious. "This signal contains embedded quantum markers that suggest technological capabilities approximately 300 years beyond current human advancement." Ileana rubbed her temples. Outpost Theta 9 wasn't equipped for first contact protocols. It was a listening post, staffed by a skeleton crew of 4, positioned at the very edge of human territory. They monitored for pirate transmissions, not alien distress calls. "The others need to see this," she muttered, pushing away from her console. In the station's cramped briefing room, Commander Vega looked skeptical, arms crossed over his chest. Lieutenant Quan was busy running numbers on her tablet, while Engineer Okafor examined the 3-dimensional projection of the signal's wave pattern hovering above the table. "It's not random," Okafor said, tracing his finger through a particular sequence. "There's a mathematical progression here that repeats every 37 seconds. It's too precise to be natural." "And you're certain it's not one of ours?" Commander Vega asked. "Not some classified military transmission that bounced off something and got distorted." Ileana shook her head. "Sentinel confirmed it has no human signature components. And the signal's age, it's been traveling for at least 70 years based on degradation patterns." Lieutenant Quan looked up from her calculations. The coordinates embedded in the message point to the Cygnus arm, specifically a star system approximately 2,300 light-years away. "So someone sent this message 2,300 years ago?" Vega asked. "No," Quan replied. "The message itself is only decades old, but it's traveled through what appears to be artificially generated subspace corridors. Someone wanted this message to move faster than light without using standard FTL communications channels." The room fell silent as the implication sank in. "They were hiding it," Ileana said quietly. "They didn't want it intercepted." Okafor zoomed in on a particular section of the signal. "There's something else. These patterns here, they're not just coordinates. They're tactical data, fleet movements, weapons specifications." His voice trailed off as new information scrolled across his screen, "and mathematical models of something massive approaching inhabited systems." Sentinel's holographic interface expanded, filling the room with a simulation based on the message's encoded data. The 4 humans watched as virtual star systems were systematically darkened, a wave of extinction spreading across the galactic map, heading inexorably toward their position. "Sentinel," Ileana said, her voice barely a whisper. "How long until whatever this is reaches human space, based on the trajectory shown in the message?" "Calculating," the AI responded. After a moment of processing, 18 months, Captain. 17 months and 26 days. Commander Vega's face paled. "We need to alert Earth Command immediately." "No," Ileana said, her eyes never leaving the simulation. "We need to mobilize the fleet. All of it." As if in response, the message began repeating on all frequencies, louder now, more urgent. No longer just data. Sentinel had finally translated fragments of actual language. 3 words repeated over and over. "They are coming." Admiral Zhang studied the holographic projection as it rotated slowly above the council table. The simulation showed the systematic destruction of star systems, entire civilizations reduced to cosmic debris in methodical precision. "And you're absolutely certain this isn't a hoax?" Admiral Nakamura asked, her weathered face illuminated by the red glow of dying virtual stars. Captain Ileana Reyes stepped forward. 3 separate analytical teams have verified the data, Admiral. The quantum signature embedded in the message contains technological markers impossible to fake with our current capabilities. General Santos remained unconvinced. "Even if this threat is real, Mobilizing our entire fleet would leave the core systems vulnerable. We'd be exposing ourselves based on a message that could be centuries old. 17 months, Ileana corrected. That's how long until they reach our outermost colonies. The economic minister, Cheng, scrolled through figures on his tablet. The cost of full mobilization would bankrupt the Terran Alliance. Markets would collapse overnight. There won't be any markets to collapse if we're all dead, John countered, his voice cutting through the chamber. Ileana activated another simulation. We've managed to decode more of the luminary message. This shows their defensive capabilities just before they were overwhelmed. The hologram displayed crystalline ships with weapons far beyond human understanding. Their technology surpassed ours by centuries, yet they were systematically eradicated. Defense Secretary Okonkwo, who had remained silent until now, leaned forward. If a civilization with superior technology couldn't stop this void harmony, what chance do we have? A different one, Ileana said. The Luminary fought conventionally, organized fleets, predictable tactics. The final transmission suggests this was their undoing. The harmony adapted to their patterns. Zhang nodded slowly. Humans don't fight like that. We're unpredictable, adaptive, chaotic, offered Science Director Kapoor. Our military history shows our greatest victories often came from unexpected strategies, not superior force. The chamber fell silent as the implications settled over the council. Secretary Okonkwo finally broke the silence. I move we activate Protocol Ancestral Shield. The word sent a ripple of shock through the room. Protocol Ancestral Shield hadn't been invoked since the Resource Wars. It would place all human territories under military governance and direct every resource toward defense. That's extreme, Minister Cheng protested. Extinction is extreme, Zhang replied quietly. The vote was not unanimous, but it was decisive. Within hours, emergency broadcasts would begin planetside. By morning, humanity would know they were no longer alone in the universe, and that they were in grave danger. As the council dispersed, Admiral Zhang found Ileana staring at the simulation of Earth's solar system. I'm promoting you, he said without preamble. Special envoy with full diplomatic and military authorization. I need someone who understands the message and the messengers. There may not be any messengers left to find, Ileana replied. Then we'll make sure their warning wasn't in vain, Zhang said, his eyes reflecting the holographic light of humanity's home. The Nova Tempest launches in 72 hours. Be on it. As Ileana left the chamber, emergency sirens began to wail across the government complex. Operation Firestorm had begun, the awakening of humanity's fiercest warfleet. The Nova Tempest's bridge hummed with activity as Ileana entered. Once the pride of the Terran fleet, the massive dreadnought had spent the last decade in orbital storage, a relic of conflicts humanity had hoped to leave behind. Now its systems pulsed with renewed energy, screens flickering to life as crew members settled into stations untouched for years. Special envoy on deck, announced Commander Rodriguez, and the bridge crew snapped to attention. Admiral Zhang nodded to Ileana. Welcome aboard. Status report. 27% of the mothballed fleet is now operational, she replied. The Jupiter shipyards are working at triple capacity, but we're facing technical challenges with the older vessels. Zhang frowned. We need every ship, no matter how old. Lieutenant Quan, who had accompanied Ileana from Outpost Theta 9, approached with a data tablet. Sir, we've completed another level of decryption on the luminary message. The main view screen activated, displaying cascading symbols and mathematical equations. Quan pointed to a specific sequence. The luminary weren't just sending distress calls. They were transmitting their technological achievements, weapons designs, shield configurations, faster than light drive schematics. They wanted whoever received their message to have a fighting chance. Engineer Okafor, also transferred from Theta 9, stepped forward. The problem is, some of this technology operates on principles we barely understand. We'd need years to implement it properly. We have 17 months, John reminded them. Ileana studied the schematics. Some of these designs could be adapted to our existing platforms. The resonance torpedo concept, for instance, it targets the quantum communication frequencies the Void Harmony uses to maintain their hive mind. Can we build them? Zhang asked. Okafor exchanged glances with the ship's chief engineer. With the right resources and priority clearance, maybe. You'll have both, Zhang assured them. The view screen shifted to a tactical display, showing hundreds of ships moving into formation throughout the solar system. Some were sleek modern vessels, others clearly retrofitted civilian craft pressed into military service. The first wave launches in 6 hours, Zhang announced. Our mission is threefold. Establish forward operating bases along the projected invasion route, gather intelligence on enemy capabilities, and test defensive strategies based on the Luminara data. And if we encounter the enemy? Asked Commander Rodriguez. We engage selectively, Zhang replied. We need to understand their tactics before committing to full-scale confrontation. Ileana stepped closer to the view screen, studying the formation of humanity's hastily assembled armada. The Luminary fought as a unified force with consistent strategies. It made them predictable. Zhang nodded. We won't make the same mistake. Each battle group will have autonomous command authority and unique tactical approaches. Organized chaos, Rodriguez observed. Exactly, Zhang said. Humanity's greatest military achievements came when we were unpredictable, adaptive. We'll make the Void Harmony face something they've never encountered, an enemy that doesn't follow logical patterns. As the briefing concluded, Ileana remained at the view screen, watching as the first patrol ships launched from Earth's orbital platforms. Across the system, humanity's dormant war machine was awakening, driven by a message from a dead civilization and the primal instinct for survival. The Nova Tempest's engines rumbled to life, vibrating through the deck plates as the massive vessel prepared to lead humanity into the unknown. Lieutenant Commander Jackson guided his scout ship through a field of crystalline debris, each fragment reflecting starlight like a shattered mirror. Behind him, the exploration team secured their equipment as the vessel docked with the abandoned luminary station. Atmospheric readings are stable, reported Specialist Chen, checking her suit diagnostics. Gravity at 0.8 Earth standard. Stay alert, Jackson ordered. We don't know what automated systems might still be active. The airlock cycled open, revealing corridors of pale, luminescent material that seemed to pulse gently with internal light. The team moved cautiously, weapons ready, though the station appeared deserted. It's beautiful, whispered Engineer Okafor, running his scanner along a wall panel. The entire structure is composed of biomechanical compounds I've never encountered before. Ileana led them deeper into the station, following the strengthening signal they detected from orbit. The architecture suggests a species that valued harmony with their technology. No hard edges, no visible machinery. They entered a vast chamber dominated by a central column of swirling light patterns. As they approached, the patterns shifted, responding to their presence. It's a data core, Ileana realized, opening her communication link to the Nova Tempest. Admiral, we found what appears to be the main library of the luminary civilization. The light column expanded, projecting images around them. Crystalline beings with elongated limbs and features that seemed to shimmer between solid and energy states. We welcome you, distant kin, spoke a melodic voice as one figure stepped forward from the projection. If you receive this message, then our hope was not in vain. I am Special Envoy Ileana Reyes of Earth, she responded, removing her helmet. We received your distress call. The luminary historian's form flickered, not distress. Warning, the Void Harmony has already begun its journey to your world. A series of holographic displays activated around the chamber, showing the systematic destruction of planets. The luminary ships, elegant crystalline structures, fell before swarms of biomechanical vessels that moved with unnerving coordination. They are a collective consciousness, the historian explained. Each drone is an extension of their unified mind. They consume worlds for resources, adding unique biological and technological aspects to their collective. How did they find you? Jackson asked. The same way they found you, the historian replied. Centuries ago, we detected primitive radio transmissions from your world. We were curious, monitoring your development, preparing to welcome you to the galactic community when you achieved faster-than-light travel. The hologram shifted, showing Earth's position in the galaxy. The Harmony intercepted our observations. They now know of Earth's location and biological diversity. They consider your species a valuable resource to be harvested. Eliana stepped closer to the projection. Your message contained technological data, weapons designs. Our final gift, the historian confirmed. We were philosophers, scientists. We chose knowledge over weapons. It was our undoing. The figure's crystalline features seemed to express something like regret. Do not make our mistake. A warning chime sounded through the station as external sensors detected movement at the system's edge. Multiple contacts, Chen reported, checking her scanner. Configuration matches the Void Harmony vessels from the Luminary records. The historian's projection began to fade. Our library contains all we knew. Take it. Learn from our failures. And remember, they cannot comprehend individuality. It may be your only advantage. As the team rushed to download the Luminary archives, the first Void Harmony scout ships entered the system, drawn to the awakened station like predators sensing movement in the dark. Alarms blared throughout the Nova Tempest as tactical displays showed the approaching Void Harmony vessels. Their biomechanical ships moved in perfect synchronization, splitting into 3 attack formations with mathematical precision. They're adapting standard pincer maneuvers, observed Commander Rodriguez. Textbook tactics. Admiral Zhang nodded. Too textbook. They're probing our responses. He turned to the communications officer. Order the Artemis battle group to fall back as if retreating. Have the Orion contingent hold position. Sir, questioned the officer. Just do it, Zhang replied, and prepare the prototype resonance torpedoes. Eliana studied the enemy formation on the tactical display. The Luminary archives indicate their hive mind requires constant communication between vessels. Each ship is like a neuron in a vast brain. Then we'll give them a migraine, Zhang said. Deploy the electronic warfare suite modified with the Luminary frequency data. Throughout the human fleet, ships began executing seemingly chaotic maneuvers, some retreating, others advancing, each group following different tactical doctrines. The Void Harmony responded by adjusting their formations, attempting to counter each movement with mathematical efficiency. They're trying to identify our command structure, Eliana noted. Looking for patterns. Let's show them something they've never seen, Zhang ordered. Execute Operation Thunderclap. Across 12 different vessels, electromagnetic pulse generators powered up simultaneously, each tuned to a different resonance frequency identified in the Luminary data. The pulses fired in a deliberately arrhythmic pattern, sweeping across the synchronized enemy fleet. The effect was immediate and startling. Several Harmony vessels broke formation, their movements becoming erratic. Others froze in place, as if suddenly confused. It's working, Eliana breathed. The pulses are disrupting their communication network. Press the advantage, Zhang commanded. All battle groups, engage at will with your pre-assigned tactics. The human fleet exploded into action, each ship group using different attack patterns. Some employed ancient naval strategies from Earth's oceanic wars. Others used guerrilla tactics. The Harmony fleet, accustomed to facing organized opposition, struggled to counter the apparently random human approaches. Lieutenant Quan monitored the neural frequency scanners. The Harmony is attempting to adapt, Admiral. Their communication patterns are changing. They're learning, Zhang acknowledged. We won't have this advantage for long. He turned to Eliana. We need more, something they can't anticipate or counter. Eliana's eyes widened as an idea formed. Human emotions, she said suddenly. The Luminary were logical, methodical, like the Harmony. But humans are emotional, contradictory. She turned to Lieutenant Quan. Could we modify the resonance torpedoes to carry emotional neural patterns? Quan looked uncertain. Theoretically, we could use the neural mapping equipment from the medical bay to record emotional states and encode them into the torpedo's quantum resonance field. Do it, ordered Zhang. Record fear, rage, joy, grief, the full human spectrum. As the modified torpedoes were prepared, the Nova Tempest took heavy fire. Deck plates buckled under Ileana's feet as a Harmony beam weapon sliced through the ship's outer hull. Shields at 40%, reported the tactical officer. The Harmony has adapted to our electromagnetic tactics. Zhang's expression hardened. Launch the emotion-coded torpedoes. Target their command vessel. The torpedoes streaked across space, detonating in proximity to the largest Harmony ship. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the enemy vessel began to move erratically, firing on its own support ships. It's working, Ileana whispered. They can't process the emotional data. But their victory was short-lived. More Harmony vessels poured into the system, overwhelming the human fleet's position. We can't hold, Zhang declared. Begin evacuation protocols. The Nova Tempest will cover the retreat. General Santos stood before a holographic map of Earth's defense grid, watching as thousands of civilian volunteers streamed into training centers across every continent. What had begun as panic 3 weeks ago had transformed into something remarkable. Unified human resolve. The orbital platforms are at 87% completion, reported Colonel Diaz. We've incorporated the luminary shield harmonics into our defensive grid. Santos nodded, his attention shifting to another display showing production statistics from factories worldwide. How are we progressing with the emotion projectors? Production has tripled since we received the data packet from the Nova Tempest. Diaz replied. Every major city now has at least basic coverage. The briefing room door slid open as Defense Secretary Okonkwo entered, followed by a team of scientists led by Dr. Lakshmi Chen. We've completed analysis of the combat data, Dr. Chen announced, activating her own holographic display. The emotional resonance weapons were partially effective, but the Harmony adapted quickly. However, she highlighted a particular data segment. When multiple emotional patterns were transmitted simultaneously, their adaptation rate decreased by 60%. Cognitive dissonance, Okonkwo observed. Their hive mind struggles with contradictory inputs. Santos studied the data. Can we weaponize this on a larger scale? We already have. Dr. Chen replied with a grim smile. The Sentinel network is being reconfigured to broadcast contradictory emotional patterns across all frequencies used by the Harmony. Think of it as emotional static jamming their collective consciousness. In the adjacent command center, communications officers monitored transmissions from the remaining fleet vessels hurrying back to Earth. The Nova Tempest's last transmission had arrived 3 days ago, a compressed data packet containing everything they had learned about the enemy, along with Admiral Zhang's final orders. Lieutenant Kowalski looked up from her console. Sir, we're receiving a new transmission. It's from a damaged scout ship, the ESS Kestrel. The view screen activated, showing Lieutenant Santos' battered face. This is Santos. Survivors of Nova Tempest. Discovered critical weakness. Request immediate extraction. Lock onto their coordinates, ordered General Santos. Get them home. 12 hours later, a sedated Lieutenant Santos lay in the medical bay of Earth Defense Headquarters, while doctors worked to repair her extensive injuries. Dr. Chen carefully extracted a neural implant from the base of the lieutenant's skull. She interfaced directly with a captured Harmony communication node. Dr. Chen explained to the gathered military leadership. It nearly killed her, but the data she's brought back is invaluable. The recovered neural data revealed the Nova Tempest's final desperate strategy. As the ship prepared to be overrun, Captain Rice had ordered volunteer crew members to connect directly to captured Harmony technology, flooding the enemy's network with the full spectrum of human consciousness, not just emotions, but memories, dreams, hopes, contradictions. The effect was devastating to their collective, Dr. Chen explained. The harmony operates on pure logic. Human consciousness is fundamentally chaotic by comparison. It's like introducing a virus into their system. General Santos studied the tactical implications. Can we replicate this effect without sacrificing our people? Dr. Chen nodded slowly. Possibly. We would need volunteers to record their full neural patterns, which we could then broadcast through the Sentinel network. You'll have your volunteers, Okonkwo promised. Every human on Earth will line up for the chance to fight back. As they spoke, the first wave of the Harmony Harvest Fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system. Thousands of biomechanical vessels moving with perfect coordination toward the waiting human defenses. On Earth, sirens began to wail. Lieutenant Santos awoke in the medical bay, her mind still burning with fragments of the Harmony's collective consciousness. The neural interface had left scars, not just physical, but mental wounds that manifested as nightmares of a vast, cold intelligence. Dr. Chen monitored her brain activity closely. Try to focus on what you learned, Lieutenant. What did you see when you were connected to their network? Santos closed her eyes, sorting through the chaotic memories. They're ancient, older than humanity by millions of years. They've consumed thousands of species across multiple galaxies. She paused, trembling. But they've never encountered anything like us before. General Santos and Secretary Okonkwo stood at the foot of her bed, recording every word. Explain, urged the general. Most species they encounter are either purely logical, like the Luminari, or purely instinctual, the lieutenant continued. But humans, we're both. We make illogical choices based on emotion, then justify them with reason. We feel contradictory emotions simultaneously. Our minds can hold opposing thoughts at once. Dr. Chen nodded. Cognitive dissonance. It's fundamental to human psychology. To the Harmony, it's poison, Santos whispered. When Captain Reyes and the others flooded their network with human consciousness, it created cascading failures throughout their collective. She reached for a data tablet with shaking hands, pulling up the neural recordings taken during the Nova Tempest's last stand. We need to broadcast these patterns through the Sentinel network, but there's a problem. The Harmony is already adapting countermeasures. How? Demanded Okonkwo. They're creating partitioned consciousness modules, quarantining sections of their collective to prevent total contamination. Santos struggled to sit up, but Captain Rice discovered a way around this. The final override code is encoded in my neural implant. Dr. Chen studied the complex data patterns extracted from Santos' implant. This would allow us to bypass their partitions, but we'd need an enormous amount of processing power and transmission capacity. General Santos turned to the window, where Earth's orbital defenses glittered against the darkness of space. We'll divert power from everything except essential life support. Every computing system on the planet will be dedicated to this effort. As preparations accelerated, volunteers flooded neural recording centers worldwide. People from every nation, culture, and background offered their unique consciousness patterns to be weaponized against the invaders. Each human mind, with its unique blend of memories, emotions, and contradictions, became ammunition in humanity's arsenal. In orbit, the first defensive line engaged the approaching Harmony vessels. Conventional weapons proved increasingly ineffective as the enemy adapted, but human tactics remained unpredictable, buying precious time for the Sentinel network to be reconfigured. Lieutenant Santos, still recovering, was brought to the main control center as the final preparations were completed. On screens around her, billions of neural patterns from volunteers worldwide were being compiled into what Dr. Chen called the human chorus, a symphony of consciousness, unlike anything the Harmony had ever encountered. The enemy fleet has broken through the outer defenses, reported Colonel Dias. They'll reach Earth in 17 minutes. General Santos turned to Santos and Dr. Chen. Is the Sentinel network ready? Chen nodded grimly. The human chorus is prepared for broadcast. Once initiated, there's no turning back. The power surge will burn out most of our systems, The general's weathered face showed no hesitation. "Lieutenant Santos, you survived the Nova Tempest to bring us this chance. The honor is yours." With trembling fingers, Santos entered Captain Rice's final override code into the system. Around the planet, the Sentinel network hummed to life, preparing to broadcast humanity's consciousness directly into the heart of the enemy's hive mind. Lieutenant Santos pressed her palm against the activation panel, and the Sentinel network surged to life. Across Earth, power grids dimmed as energy was diverted to the massive transmission array. The compiled neural patterns of billions, the human chorus, began broadcasting on all frequencies used by the Void Harmony. In orbit, the approaching enemy fleet faltered. Biomechanical vessels that had moved with perfect coordination suddenly broke formation, their movements becoming erratic and confused. "It's working," breathed Dr. Chen, watching the tactical displays. "Their collective consciousness is experiencing cascade failures." General Santos leaned forward. "All defensive units, press the advantage. Focus fire on disoriented vessels." Earth's remaining warships, along with orbital defense platforms, launched a coordinated attack against the fragmented enemy forces. Resonance torpedoes targeted the largest Harmony vessels, delivering concentrated bursts of human emotional patterns directly into their command nodes. In the control center, Santos watched as the data streams showed the impact of each human consciousness on the enemy network. Artists and musicians created chaotic beauty the logical hive mind couldn't process. Children's imagination spawned unpredictable thought patterns that corrupted the Harmony's predictive algorithms. Scientists contributed structured yet creative thinking that the enemy could almost understand, making it all the more devastating when the logic unexpectedly shifted. "The largest vessels are turning against each other," reported Colonel Diaz, disbelief evident in his voice. "They're firing on their own support ships." On the main view screen, a massive Harmony command ship split apart, its biomechanical components separating as if rejecting their own structure. Others began retreating in disarray, while some simply went dormant, floating lifeless in space. "What's happening to them?" asked Secretary Okonkwo. "Individuality," Santos replied softly. "The human chorus isn't just disrupting their network. It's teaching them what it means to be individual. Some are embracing it, some are fighting it, some are simply shutting down rather than face it." Dr. Chen studied the neurological data. The Harmony operates on consensus reality, a single shared perception. We've just introduced billions of different perspectives simultaneously. It's like trying to see through 1,000,000,000,000 eyes at once. As the battle continued, a strange transformation began among the surviving Harmony vessels. Some broke completely from the collective, their movements suggesting newly awakened individual consciousness. These ships ceased hostile actions, instead broadcasting signals that the Sentinel network translated as confusion, wonder, and in some cases, gratitude. 3 days later, the last organized Harmony forces retreated from the solar system. Earth had survived, though at tremendous cost. Nearly 30% of the orbital defense platforms were destroyed, and countless brave defenders had sacrificed themselves to protect their homeworld. In a quiet memorial garden overlooking the Pacific Ocean, Lieutenant Santos stood before a monument to the crew of the Nova Tempest. Captain Rice's name was engraved alongside Admiral Zhang, and all those who had given their lives to bring home the knowledge that saved humanity. "They expected resources to harvest," Santos whispered, echoing Zhang's final words. "Instead, they found what makes us human." Behind her, Dr. Chen approached with a data tablet. "We've deciphered more of the Luminary archives. They contained coordinates to other worlds where civilizations might still survive under Harmony control." "Then our work isn't finished," Santos replied, looking up at the stars now free of enemy vessels. "The Nova Tempest began this journey with a warning message. We'll continue it with a message of liberation." As night fell over Earth, humanity looked to the stars not with fear, but with newfound purpose. The Warfleet that had defended their world would now carry their most powerful weapon to others in need, the liberating power of human consciousness. in all its beautiful, chaotic complexity.